Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we shall be looking for the values of the sum and products of a given quadratic equation, that is 3x squared minus 4x minus 1. And after that, we shall also look for alpha squared plus beta squared and alpha minus beta, then alpha cubed plus beta cubed. Let's remember that the general quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now, equating coefficients, a is equal to 3 and b is equal to minus 4 and c is equal to minus 1. So let's find the value of the sum of roots of this given quadratic equation, which is alpha plus beta. Let's remember that the formula for sum of root is minus b over c, minus b over a rather. Now, our b is minus 4 and our a is 3. So minus times minus is 4, then over 3. That becomes the sum of the roots of this quadratic equation. Now, what about the product of roots, which is alpha beta? Let us also remember that the product of roots of a given quadratic equation is c over a. Our c is minus 1 and our a is 3. So this is the product or the value of the product of the roots. Now, we are also required to look for the value of alpha squared plus beta squared. So we need to express these in a form whereby we have the sum and the product of roots. To do that, let us start with alpha plus beta all squared and then expand it. When we expand it, we'll have alpha squared plus 2 alpha beta plus beta squared. Now let's collect these two terms with squared. That is alpha squared plus beta squared, which is the given term. Now we also have 2 alpha beta. So we need to transport these 2 alpha beta to the other side of the equation. That becomes alpha plus beta all squared minus 2 alpha beta will give us alpha squared plus beta squared, which is the required expression which we are required to find the value. Now, the value of alpha plus beta is 4 over 3. There is a square here, so we'll have to square it, minus the value of alpha beta is minus 1 over 3. So there is a 2 here, then minus 1 over 3. Now let's simplify. This is alpha squared plus beta squared. Now 4 squared is 16 and 3 squared is 9. Minus times minus is plus. 2 times 1 is 2, then over 3. That's our alpha squared plus beta squared. The LCM of 9 and 3 is 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1 times 16 is 16. 9 divided by 3 is 3 times 2 is 6. So our alpha squared plus beta squared is 16 plus 6 over 9, and 16 plus 6 is 22, then over 9, which is our alpha squared plus beta squared. The next one we are required to look for its value is the difference between the roots, alpha minus beta. So, difference between the roots, alpha minus beta, also like we did in this first case, we need to express alpha minus beta in a form that will have the sum of roots and the product of roots. So let's start this by expanding alpha minus beta all squared. And we expand that, we'll have alpha squared minus 2 alpha beta plus beta squared. Alpha squared plus beta squared, will bring them together, then minus 2 alpha beta. Let's remember that we have an expression for alpha squared plus beta squared. That expression is alpha plus beta all squared minus 2 alpha beta. So we'll put this expression where we'll have these alpha squared plus beta squared. That becomes alpha plus beta all squared minus 2 alpha beta minus 2 alpha beta again is our alpha minus beta all squared. And we'll add this together, we'll have alpha plus beta all squared minus 4 alpha beta. So we have the sum of roots and we have the product of roots here. Now let's find the square root of this, or let's square root both sides. So our alpha minus beta, which is the required expression, will now be the square root of alpha plus beta all squared minus 4 alpha beta. Yeah, so we can now substitute values for alpha plus beta and alpha beta. Now our alpha minus beta is the square root of, we calculated alpha plus beta as 4 over 3 squared minus 4 times our alpha beta, that is product of root, is minus 1 over 3. Alpha minus beta is now, the square root of 4 is 16 and of 3 is 9. Now minus times minus, minus times minus is plus. So I'll write plus here. Then 4 over 3. The LCM of 9 and 3 is still 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1 times 16 is 16. 9 divided by 3 is 3 times 4 is 12. All over, square roots of these fraction. Now 16 plus 12 is 28, then over 9 as the square root. Now let us break this one down. We have the square root of 28 over the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 28 is, we'll break it down further, this is 7 times 4, and square root of 4 is 2. 7 does not have a perfect, it's not a perfect square, then over 3. This becomes the difference of the roots. The next one is to look for alpha cube plus beta cube. So like we did in the previous two, we need to find an expression such that we can have the sum and then the product of the roots. We need to find an expression so that we have a sum and product of the roots. Let us start by expanding alpha plus beta all cube. When we use binomial expansion, it becomes alpha cube plus 3 alpha squared beta plus 3 alpha beta all squared plus beta cube. Now let's collect these two terms with cubes. Alpha cube plus beta cube, then plus 3 alpha squared beta plus 3 alpha beta squared. Now this is the term that we are required. So it means that alpha plus beta all cube is this. So let's transfer these two terms to the other side. That becomes alpha cube plus beta cube will now be, we have alpha plus beta all cube minus 3 alpha squared beta squared plus 3 alpha beta squared. We need to factorize something out. We can factorize alpha beta here. So alpha plus beta all cube minus 3 alpha beta, that's the common factor. There's a minus here, please. The common factor. Then we have left. There's no squared here, please. Alpha plus beta, when we factorize this from this, we'll have this. That is our alpha cube plus beta cube. So we can still factorize alpha beta out. So factorizing alpha beta, we have alpha plus beta all squared minus 3 alpha beta. Yes, that is our alpha cube plus beta cube. We are gradually coming to the end of this video. So let's substitute the values of alpha plus beta and alpha beta in this expression. That becomes, our alpha plus beta is 4 over 3 bracket. Our alpha plus beta is also 4 over 3. So we have 4 over 3 here. We'll square it minus 3. Alpha beta is minus 1 over 3. That's our alpha cube plus beta cube. So 4 squared is 16. Let's put this one down. It's 16. 3 squared is 9. Minus times minus is plus. Now 3 divided by 3 rather is 1. We'll have this. We also need to simplify further. The LCM is 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. Times 16 is 16. 9 divided by 1 is 9. Times 9 is 9. That is our alpha cube plus beta cube. 16 plus 9 is 25. So we'll have 25 over 9. That's our alpha cube plus beta cube. 4 times 25 is 100. 3 times 9 is 27. That is our alpha cube plus beta cube.